Hey guys, Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. Thanks for joining me, guys. Alright guys, I got a really serious video I want to throw out there right now for you guys, and it's kind of important. And I hope you guys can sit back, relax, listen. Because we need to understand, I need to come to some sort of conclusion in what's happened in Canada and what's transpired in Canada in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years. And I need to know, because this is a big deal and it's been eating me for years. Now, let's go to article scan here real quick. I did a video here where I, look at me. Anyways, China buying up Canada, right? We're discussing how basically, Canada's competing for wealthy investors. They want, right here, let me see if I could get this here on the screen. Canada would be in a recession without money laundering. Canada's put it here. It is. Canada would be a recession with a money laundering. Canada's been, I don't know, man. It's like they're making too many mistakes, and too many people are lining their pockets too fast with money, and a lot of the people, or a lot of working class people, are basically getting the short end of the stick, getting shafted. Either they're being bought out of their housing markets, or being bought out, or getting replaced at work with lower wages, or whatever it is. So I kind of want to understand what's happening. So I threw this video up, and then somebody threw a comment on there. And when that comment was thrown up, it brought back a little bit of history. So let's go to the comment right here. It says, oh, I moved the video. Hold on, let me find it for you guys. Let me find it. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to find the video. I think as I moved the video around, the comment got moved to... here it is. I remember. So we're talking about immigration. We're talking about, what's happening. Why are we selling out to the highest bidders? What's happening? Where are things going to go? Where would things potentially go in Canada? Are we going to sell out? How long before? I mean, it's Canada by name now. How long before that changes, right? Okay, so it says, I remember when they closed the doors in Dufferin Mall. Now, Dufferin Mall is a mall in Toronto. Now, brace yourselves, because you're not going to believe the words that are going to come out of my lips. I remember when they closed the doors at Dufferin Mall in Toronto. They actually closed the mall down full of people. Everyone that was in there had to show or prove they were Canadian citizens and at the exit doors. Those who didn't have papers were arrested, then deported. It's an area with lots of Portuguese. And I remember that, clear as day. I wasn't in that mall that day for the roundup. I did work at that mall, though. But I wasn't there for the roundup. Now, this is what the mall looks like. It's in downtown Toronto. It's called Dufferin Mall, right? It's a decent mall. I mean, it's got a lot of cool stuff there. I think it even has a theater now. I'm not sure if it does anymore. I'm not sure if it closed. But there's a gander of it right there. Dufferin Mall. Okay, it's on one of the major streets in Toronto. So I was having a really tough time finding any articles of anything ever since the 2000 and was it 2000 and last year 2019 Canadian elections. I was very disappointed when the Liberal government basically bailed out all the dinosaur media. And when the dinosaur media got bailed out, all the documented articles of what's happened with, the mass deportation of Portuguese from Canada is gone. It's like completely disappeared. So I found an article from 2014, but it actually brings it up in huge detail right here. It says, let me open this so you guys can see it too. So I'm not making this up, because a lot of people won't believe this. It's not unusual for border agents to enforce immigration warrants, but Coordinated sweeps are rare. In 2006, such raids were conducted in Dufferin Mall area, where many undocumented migrants from the Portuguese and Latin American communities were arrested and later deported. They just say Latin America. I don't know why, but it was only Portuguese. Okay? So, I found the blurb there. I found it. So, on a mainstream media site, the Star, the Toronto Star. Like, this is not a fake. So, people watching this in Australia or other countries, it's not a fake. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, okay. Fair enough. There it is there. So, they had these big protests. They like... So here it is. Urgent. Immigration roundups. Immediate response required. Please phone or fax or email Minister of Immigration today. In a move that broke major headlines last week, and I can't find a stupid damn article anywhere. It's gone. Ever since the Liberal government of this last election bailed out $600 million to the dinosaur mainstream bullcrap media, guess what happened? All those articles disappeared. Is it they're trying to erase Canada's past, like this never happened? So this is what's troubling me. Like, Canada really wants to put itself out there for equality, really wants to put itself out there for not being a racist country, being open and stuff. Well, I don't understand. Like, this stuff that happened in 2006, 7, and 8, 2005, 6, 7, and 8, 40,000 people deported from Canada, people living in Canada 20, 30 years, people that own their homes free and clear, people that have had kids born and raised here and they're in their 20s get fully deported. It doesn't make any sense. The one article that I used to read to you guys back in the day where it was a roundup, a purging of Portuguese families, the articles are all gone. They're gone. I can't find them for the life of me. So now here it goes. Canadian Border Services Agency closed Dufferin Mall in Toronto last Saturday and demanded shoppers to produce status papers as buses waited outside to detain and deport those who could not produce papers. This is a racist attack targeted primarily to Portuguese and is a part of mass deportation in Toronto carried by the Canadian Border Services agents. Citizenship of Immigrants Canada. Over the past few weeks, deportees were flown out of 2 airplanes in the past 2 weeks. Last Monday, agents of CBSA harassed passerbys in downtown in a primarily Portuguese Latin American Toronto neighborhood, demanding status documents. A report in the Toronto Star reports that as many as 100 Portuguese households in Toronto area will be receiving deportation orders this coming weeks. So this is when they started warming up. This is before they started kicking a ton of people. And we're talking about people that have been in Canada for many years, right? An urgent response is needed to stop the mass roundups in Toronto as well as to challenge the day-to-day enforcement deportation Canada across the country. So now this is what happened. The high school I went to, what they did was they called all the students down to the gymnasium that spoke Portuguese and waited for their parents to come in with documentation so they could deport them out of the country. Now hold your horses, conservatives that are out there. Hold your horses. Oh, well, they were breaking the law. They were illegal. They were this. They were that. They should have gone. Good for them. The country's doing its job. Okay, I'm with you on that. 100%. My problem with this is, why is Canada working so hard to pretend it's never done this kind of crap? They penalize other presidents in the United States and other countries for doing this kind of crap. But it's almost like Canada, it never done. They're making it seem like they're very selective. When Canada's borders are open and we are open to the world, come on in. They're extremely selective in which countries are allowed in. Okay, so I had like a friend who came for a funeral from Portugal. She had to take care of the final wishes of her, I think it was her uncle, because she was one of the only survivors of like that family line. So she came in, and it was unexpected. She came in, she took care of business and this and that. She ended up having a baby while she was visiting and arranging these things, right? And so, guys, don't worry. Birth tourism does not count for Portuguese. So if Portuguese come here and have a child by chance or by accident, you're still out. You got to get out of the country. You don't get nothing if you're Portuguese. So people are worried about birth tourism, this and that. No, there's a lot of countries, if you come here and have a kid, you're out. They don't give a crap. So she had a child, and like the immigration was there like the next day saying, you have to get out of here. You can't stay in Canada. She's like, I just had a child. Give me like 3 days when I get out of the hospital. I'll go on a plane and leave your country. I'll leave your country. Don't you worry about it. So this is what I'm talking about. Why is Canada playing this squeaky clean image and saying it's open to everybody, but when a select country or somebody of a specific nationality wants to come and work construction or do something, they're not welcome here. They're shown the door. It doesn't make any sense. And that's what I'm trying to get. Is it just because they hate the Portuguese? Because when I went to, like I still remember this. My grandma, my dad, my uncle, my aunt, they were all sitting on the balcony outside. And I went for a job interview. And I was walking back, and I went to my house. Oh, my parents, the door's locked, so they're probably at my grandma's. My grandma's like 4 doors down. So I walked down. They were outside on the balcony. I said, hi, how you doing? And then we were talking, and then they're like, oh, you went for that job interview today, working in cleaning or something, right? I'm like, yeah. And they asked me, did they ask you if you're Portuguese? I'm like, no, they didn't ask me. And they're like, oh, okay. Just, if they ask you, just say maybe, you were born here, your parents don't speak it, type of thing. Just avoid the whole subject altogether. And they were training me at like when I was 16, 15 years old, training me to make sure you don't tell people who you are or your culture, who your culture really is. And that's why I'm so Portuguese today. I got flags in my store, flags in my old store. I have everything Portuguese. I speak Portuguese. My kids are learning Portuguese because I had to hide who I was. And then even when I went to high school, when I was in high school, put your hand up if you speak Portuguese. Go to the back of the class. We don't want to deal with you. That was the whole thing. That I'm not making this up. I honestly wish I was making this up. So, okay, so let's move on. Article scan, please. So here it is again. Recent wave of high-profile mass deportations in Toronto, Portuguese community, as well reports checks of raids that occurred at Dufferin Mall. So imagine going to a mall. We're shutting down the mall full of people. You can't leave this mall until you produce paperwork or you're getting on a bus and you're going to Portugal. Apparently 2 people that couldn't have ID or something were actually sent to Portugal and they're not Portuguese. Yeah, there was 2 people that were sent back that don't even speak Portuguese. So they arrived in Portugal. They're like, what the hell am I doing in Portugal? Like, okay, can I go back to Canada? I didn't have ID on me that day. It's like, oh yeah, they have really had it in for us. It's like when I got pulled over by the police. Are you Portuguese? Yeah, so. Okay, just wait here or get out of the car and search my car or something. All right, let's move on. So this is an article that was put up January 17, 2020. Toronto woman stunned by deportation after 18 years in Canada, just given days to leave. Is another YouTube video. So here it is, guys. People of Portuguese descent, for some reason, they're very disliked in Canada. Very disliked. Very hated. Right? So I hate when they go around, yeah, Canada, this free spirit, free this, such a free country. Guys, you don't even know it. You don't even know the half of it. So this woman's being deported. So I was watching this video, and she was being interviewed, I think by another Portuguese. I think it's a Portuguese journalist. And this I know this area is a Portuguese area. It's by Dundas Street in downtown Toronto, and she's being deported. And one thing that kind of she's studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here. And here with her friends. So one thing that I'm not understanding is could it be that Portuguese are of Roman Catholicism? The first thing you see around this girl here, around her neck, is like if I find that image of her, she's wearing a cross. Here it is, right here. She's wearing a cross. Could it be that Portuguese are heavily Roman? I'm Roman Catholic, right? My kids are Roman Catholic. Could it be that they want to eliminate that in Canada and kind of backseat it? Could it be that the Portuguese are severely hard workers when it comes to construction, building, cement work, like working in the sewers, doing all kinds of not menial but really technical. My dad, injured himself badly working in the construction scene, and he worked hard to put a roof over my head, and worked hard to put me through school, and took care of me even up to till today. He's taking care of me, even though he passed away last year. So I'm just trying to figure out. I just want to know, like, you know what I'm saying? So this one I covered already on the channel from 2019. Man's family facing to a deportation to a country they never lived in. So this guy was being deported back to Portugal, but he was born there, and then he was raised in Venezuela. And there's a very big area outside of Caracas where it's a very heavy Portuguese-speaking from Portugal community from the Azores that went just outside 20, 30 minutes out of Caracas. So after this whole Venezuela thing took off, this is 2019, right? Towards the year there. You remember, guys, what happened in Venezuela. So they had to leave. So they came to Canada. And the second they realized, oh, you're Portuguese? Oh, you got to go back to Portugal. It's like, I left there when I was 1. I think he left there when he was 2 and went to Venezuela. See, I lived all my life in Venezuela. Yeah, my parents are Portuguese. So he says, I have nowhere to go in Portugal. So it doesn't make, I'm just trying to figure this out is all I'm asking. And then I can't, this one they want me to pay for it. Foreign laborers shown the door. Right? So, but we're not talking about 3 people. Thousands of people, tens of thousands. So the conservatives in Canada could be happy, could say, hey, at least it looks like our immigration are doing their job. They're deporting the illegals. Even though they have children that have been living here for 20 years, they're illegal. They need to get out of here. They need to get out of Canada. But the problem is Canada's only, and for the last, basically since this time when this started kicking off, all they were doing is competing for wealthy investors to bring their money here. Anybody else that came to start a life is basically get the hell out of here. So could it be the religion aspect of things? They kind of frown upon religion here in Canada. Or it was too heavily religious, so they want to kind of ease up on it. 2, could it be just a personal vendetta against the Portuguese that the governments were conspiring against? Right? Or could it be because there's illegal immigrants from every single country in Canada. But why the Portuguese? Why did I have to go through such a really tough time? And then when I moved to this town here, I had this guy basically telling me to go back to my country, harassing me for opening a business similar to his. Could it be he hates Portuguese too? He flips me the bird, tells me off every day, tells my wife off, and I go to the police, and the police tell me that he's forming an opinion. He's threatened me many times. He's threatened me on camera at PharmaSafe, on the PharmaSafe camera. And he's giving me the finger and calling me over, telling me, let's go, man, let's go. And could it be like there's like some sort of race hate towards, like you get what I'm saying? Since the day I opened my business, this guy's been hounding me. You can watch the Merit Harassment series on YouTube here on this channel. Watch the Merit Harassment series. Watch the harassment and I go to the police. I get an illegal cease and desist sent to me from him. Illegal cease and desist that wasn't by the courts, stating it was by the courts, and saying, I hate your face, close your business and get the hell out of my town. So I go to the police and they say, is there another town maybe you should move to? Like leave here? Or the last time I went to the police, they say, we have real police work to do. We don't have time to deal with you. So when is the line drawn? Is it because, okay, this guy is a Portuguese. We don't care. We're not spending any police resources or any time on this guy. He's garbage. If they could tell me that up front, then I know where I stand when it comes to being told off every time I leave my door. It's a small town, right? So here it is. Now, here's the problem. You see, the problem is my dad, my family, we were split. Half of us lived in Portugal and half of us lived, and you'll never guess what country this is. So I got the audio down so I don't get flagged. You'll never guess what country this is. Well, it's got a Catholic church there, so it kind of gives it away. But you'll never guess what country this is. Let me just get this to fit in here. Oh, you'll never guess. I think there's less than 0.001% of the planet could guess what country this is. It's a big city. It's probably the size of New York. It's huge, land-wise. Lots of infrastructure, streets, bridges. I can see the lights of the stadium down the road. Mercedes taxis right here. Mercedes taxis right there. I bet you'll never guess what country that is. Limousines on the right there. Condominiums everywhere. Do you know what country this is? This is in Mozambique. This is Portuguese Africa. This is Portuguese Africa. You see, unlike the French, the Dutch, and the Germans and all these countries, the Portuguese were actually in Africa for 500 years. And they built this country. They built a thriving economy with oil, natural gas, massive exports to Brazil, massive exports. Portugal controlled the petroleum and everything, majority of it that went in through Europe at one point. But guess what? Just like Libya, Iraq, the country became destabilized. The Portuguese were not allowed to have this. The Portuguese were not allowed to live there. Today, Mozambique still speaks Portuguese to this day because the Portuguese were there 500 years. They actually opened schools, universities, colleges. They actually spent money, unlike the French and Dutch and Germans went there to rape Africa. The Portuguese actually built it. There was no segregation, and people lived with each other. The better person got the job all the time, and that's how it was. This is Portuguese Africa. Now, let me tell you why I'm showing you this. Because we were supposed to live there. We were supposed to live here. We were supposed to live our lives. And we were supposed to be not bothered. But then, because Portugal refused to join the World Bank, guess what? Everything, the Portuguese Empire fell. They destabilized everything in the 70s and destroyed our way of life. Everybody lived in harmony there. There was no there was no segregation, and it really hurts when your family, your descendants build a future for their next generation, and then guess what? Everything gets taken away. Everything gets taken away. So we didn't have to come to Canada to be shown the door and be kicked out. We didn't have to. We had our own countries we could have lived in. We had our own countries. My aunt is still there. Cousins are still there. They've been there for many years now. They have little hotels and stuff, and they have businesses and restaurants and stuff. But it was destabilized. They purposely started political wars, and basically the Dutch, the French, the English are like, oh no, the Portuguese can't have that. Same thing with Angola. Oh no, Portuguese can't have that. All the British, all the European countries were kicked out of Africa. But there was a referendum vote. 97% voted for Portugal to stay because they knew when Portugal left, it was going to turn into a big, massive 20-side civil war. And the Germans, French, Dutch would go in and rape the countries. So we didn't have to come to Canada. We had our countries, but they were destabilized. So I got a message here, an email from a girl named D. I don't know, my background's acting weird. Hold on a sec here. I got a message from a girl named D who said basically, okay, I got a message from a girl named D here who says, scared to come on your show. Her dad was picked up at work and put on a plane, then deported from Canada in 3 hours. He couldn't change his work clothing, and I mentioned that many times. and family was rounded up a few days later, then deported on different flights. So what was the motive? Why were they so dangerous to keep Portuguese people in Canada? What was the deal with it, right? I never understood that. If our countries weren't destabilized, Africa, it'd be different. If I was living in Mozambique, Angola, the war in Angola in Portuguese Africa was so big in Angola as another country that Cuba was in that war. Cuba was in that war for like 13 years to take the capital of Luanda, or Nova Lisboa, New Lisbon. That's what it was called. That's how bad it was. That's how bad things were. So what's the deal? What is going on? Destabilize our countries, then we got nowhere to go. In Africa, man, it would have been super lucrative. I'd have a nice little car driving around in Mozambique. Maybe being an oil broker, maybe being a natural gas broker. But no, we're not supposed to have that. My forefathers and my family that's built these countries, my dad worked hard building a lot of buildings. My dad worked on the Air Canada Centre, like where the Maple Leafs play. My dad worked his butt off. And it's like, they don't want us here. You know what I'm saying? Even in my own town, it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, I didn't even do nothing to these people. Stop destabilizing our countries. We don't have to come here. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. I really look forward to reading your comments on this one, because this is something that has been really bothering me for many years. You know, birth tourism only works for certain cultures. Certain refugee status only works for certain cultures. There's everything in the book for every country on the planet except Portugal. Why? And why were the French, the Dutch, the people that basically won and lost World War II, why did they run in to destabilize the Portuguese Empire so fast when it could have helped build a good, stronger world today? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense from any angle you see it. You know, yeah, the conservatives are going to comment and say, yeah, Mike, that's good. They're doing their job. Deport them. I don't care what culture they are. Okay, fair enough. But then why the Portuguese? I never shut down a whole mall. This is not going to go away. This ain't, they could take down all the articles they want. This is not going anywhere. I want to know. Somebody tell me what's going on here. Share this video if you want to go against everything that's been being thrown at you lately and the mainstream media deleting. Oh, we got to keep our integrity and this, that, and that's garbage. Anyways, guys, I had to make this video. I just had to get this off my chest. Let me know what you guys think on below. I love you guys. Thanks for watching.